If you're over 35 and trying to lose fat, you've probably been told the same things over and over again. Eat less, exercise more, be more disciplined. And while technically that's true, it doesn't explain why fat loss feels so much harder than it used to. Because most men aren't failing because they don't know what to do. They're failing because their daily routine is quietly working against them. And the frustrating part? Most of it happens before they even realize it. So in this video, I want to show you a simple daily routine that can make fat loss easier, not faster, not extreme, just easier to stick to. And after 35, that's usually what matters most. Let's start with the morning, because what happens during the first hour of your day often affects everything that follows. Now, I'm not going to tell you to wake up at 4 a.m. I'm not going to tell you to jump into an ice bath. Although, to be fair, there are some benefits if you enjoy that sort of thing. And I'm definitely not going to tell you to follow some complicated morning routine that takes 90 minutes before you've even had your first cup of coffee. Because the truth is, fat loss after 35 doesn't usually fail because you're missing some advanced biohack. It fails because a few simple habits are working against you every single day without you realizing it. Most men don't need that. What they need is consistency. One of the simplest things you can do after waking up is get some movement, even a short walk. 5 minutes, 10 minutes, nothing extreme, just movement. Because after sleeping for several hours, your body has been inactive the entire night. Getting your body moving early helps you feel more awake, increases circulation, and creates momentum for the rest of the day. And here's something interesting. People often think fat loss comes from one big workout. But in reality, a lot of calories are burned through the small movements you do throughout the day. Walking, standing, taking the stairs, or moving around more often. Those things add up far more than most people realize. The second habit is hydration, and this one sounds so simple that many people completely ignore it. Drink more water. But here's the problem. A lot of men walk around slightly dehydrated every day without realizing it. And when that happens, your body can sometimes send signals that feel surprisingly similar to hunger. So what do most people do? They eat. Not because they actually need food, but because they're misreading thirst as hunger. And that can quietly add extra calories throughout the week. But that's only part of the story, because water doesn't directly burn fat. What it does is remove obstacles that make fat loss harder. When you're dehydrated, energy levels often drop. Workouts feel harder. You feel more tired, you move less throughout the day, and even small reductions in movement can make a difference over time. There's another effect most people never think about. Your body relies on water for countless processes happening behind the scenes. Digestion, nutrient transport, temperature regulation, exercise performance, recovery. When hydration is poor, none of these systems work as efficiently as they could. It's like trying to drive a car with the handbrake partially on. The car still moves, but everything becomes harder than it needs to be. So before reaching for a snack, try drinking a large glass of water first. Many times you'll realize you weren't actually hungry, you were actually just thirsty. And that's why staying hydrated isn't some magic fat loss trick. It's simply one of the easiest ways to remove unnecessary obstacles. The next habit happens at lunch, and honestly, this is where many men accidentally make fat loss much harder. Because most lunches are built around convenience, fast food, fried food, highly processed food, foods that are easy to eat, but don't keep you satisfied for very long. A few hours later, you're hungry again. And the cravings start. Instead of focusing on eating less, try focusing on eating smarter. Build your meals around protein first. Chicken, fish, eggs, lean beef, Greek yogurt, foods that help keep you full longer. Then add vegetables and fiber-rich foods, because fullness isn't just about calories. It's also about how satisfied you feel after eating. And when you stay fuller for longer, fat loss becomes much easier to maintain. Now let's talk about something most people overlook: movement after meals. You don't need a hardcore workout. You don't need to run. You don't need to spend another hour in the gym. Even a short walk after eating can be helpful. 15 minutes, 10 minutes, even 5 minutes. It gets your body moving, breaks up long periods of sitting, and helps create another opportunity to burn a few extra calories. Small habit, small effort, but repeated every day. It starts to matter. Now here's the part most men don't want to hear: the evening. Because this is where progress often gets destroyed. Not because of hunger, not because of exercise, but because of habits. Mindless snacking, alcohol, late-night eating, sitting on the couch for hours while scrolling videos. And before you know it, you've consumed hundreds of calories you never planned for. The problem isn't that these things happen occasionally, the problem is when they happen every single night. Because small habits repeated daily create big results, good or bad. That's why one of the most powerful questions you can ask yourself in the evening is, am I actually hungry? Or am I just bored? Because those are two very different things. And finally, let's talk about sleep, because this might be the most underrated fat loss habit of all. Most people think fat loss happens in the kitchen or in the gym, but recovery plays a massive role too. When you consistently sleep poorly, your energy drops, your cravings increase, your hunger hormones become harder to manage, and your motivation often disappears. There's also something happening behind the scenes. During sleep, your body repairs itself. Recovery processes take place, hormones are regulated, and your body prepares itself for the next day. That's why someone who sleeps well often finds it easier to stick to healthy habits. Not because they have stronger willpower, but because their body is functioning better. For most adults, aiming for around 7 to 9 hours of sleep is a good target. Not because sleep magically burns fat, but because it helps remove another obstacle standing in your way. So if we put everything together, the simple daily routine looks something like this. Wake up and get some movement. Stay hydrated throughout the day. Build meals around protein and whole foods. Move more whenever possible. Reduce mindless evening eating and prioritize sleep. None of these habits are exciting, none of them are revolutionary. But that's exactly why they work. Because fat loss after 35 isn't usually about finding a secret. It's about removing the hidden obstacles that make consistency difficult. If this video helped you understand things a bit clearer, I appreciate you taking the time to watch it. What I focus on here is simple, realistic approaches that middle-aged men can actually stick to. Because that's what gets real results. If that's something you're working on, you can stick around for more.